Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known, as the Sierras. And today is Hump Day.
Uh-oh. Mike. What day is it, Mike?
It's Hump Day.
Hump Day!
It's Hump Day.
Hump Day!
That's right, folks. Today is Hump Day. This is the day in which we attempt to begin the weekend, sometimes with success, sometimes not. But as I always like to say, the fun is all in the trying. But we're going to be here. I'm here right now. We're going to have a good time. We're going to have a great conversation, inviting you to participate. If you are watching this program live, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, go ahead and give us a holler. Let us know what you think about the program, what you think about the topic. Let us know, chime in if you have an opinion. You don't have to agree with our opinion. You don't have to agree with what I say. Just be interesting. That's the only requirement that we have for you to be able to comment. Is go ahead and just make sure that you're interesting. Now, know that if you do disagree, just know that we do reserve the right to mock you.
Oh, wow, is that a mockingbird?
Man, is that a mockingbird? Is that a mockingbird?
Fun stuff. All right, folks. Now, before we get into today's program, the first thing we got to do is, we got to pay the bills, and you know how that works. We always start off with a quick shout out to our sponsors. We're going to start with the folks over at Hitman Industries. You can find them at hitmanindustries.net. They have rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you to purchase at any length. Check them out today. Then we've got the California Republican Assembly working to help elect conservatives at all levels of government, from school board all the way up to President of the United States. Visit their website at cragop.org. That's cragop.org. If you want to be a part of California's future today, you got to join CRA. And then we've got the best in concealed carry tactical holsters available on the market. You will find them at hogholsters.com. Just go to hogholsters, once again, .com. Make sure you use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, just like it is right up there, and you're going to get a nice little discount. Remember, that's Hog Holsters, HAWG Holsters, helping Americans wear guns. And then finally, if you're looking for outdoor gear, you're looking for warm weather gear, hot weather gear, you're looking for tactical gear, the place you need to go is uscombatgear.com. They specialize in group sales, so get your group together, get your agency together, get your department together, and head on over to the place where you can find all things tactical except the gun. That would be uscombatgear.com. All right, now we're going to go ahead and get into today's stories. We're going to over the weekend, and I didn't even notice this because I'll be honest, I don't spend a lot of time on social media over the weekends. To be honest, most of the time that I spend on social media, it's done in preparation for this program, right? It's where I'm just trying to figure out what's up, where's it at, yada, 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 and just kind of, once again, trying to figure things out in terms of where we're at, in terms of the news. And to be quite honest, I troll the websites and stuff like that. Not troll, I visit websites. But for the most part, I don't spend a lot of time interacting on social media. So I didn't notice this really until yesterday. When I think we already had set the show yesterday. So anyway, but there was a big thing that was trending over the weekend, and it was basically people reporting the news that Donald Trump was dead. Now, mind you, they had no evidence that Donald Trump was dead. There were no actual media reports of Donald Trump not being alive. This was solely based on, how do I want to put it? It was solely based on their kind of, whatever they felt they wanted. It was basically because he hadn't done a press conference in a couple of days. That was really the big takeaway. In the end, he hadn't done a press conference in a couple of days. And so they just figured, well, hey, Donald Trump must be dead. And those stories were trending over the weekend with left-wing media. This is a piece here over at Breitbart talking about it. It says, leftists spread baseless rumors online overnight Friday and into Saturday morning that President Donald Trump was dead. Phrases including "Trump is dead" and "Please let it be true" trended on social media, and many celebrated the fake news. And here you see, here's one: Trump tops Twitter trends, top trending political figures in the United States. Where's Donald Trump? Where's Donald Trump? Where's Trump? Trump is dead. He's dead. Here's a bunch of examples. Look, Trump is dead. 81,500 posts. 3,159 posts. He's dead. 6,800. All of these people, all of these various different posts. And what's sad is that you even had folks, like the former governor of Minnesota, former vice presidential candidate for the Democrats. He was out there kind of perpetuating this sort of
Get
stuff.
up in the morning and you doom scroll through things, and although I will say this, the last few days you woke up thinking there might be news. Just saying. There will be news sometime, just so you know, there will be news.
So think about how crazy that is. Think about the fact that, here it is, you have a guy who is running for vice president of the United States who is joking about and reveling about the possibility that the president of the United States is dead. For them, it's a joke. For them, the idea that he may or may not have been dead is actually a joke. I just have to think, let's just put it this way. I'm not the only person who thought that little thing was kind of weird. In fact, the president himself thought it was a little weird. Well, no, first, let me let you hear what Scott Jennings over at CNN had to say about Mr. Walz's comments.
Are you concerned about his health?
No, because I talked to him on the phone yesterday for 40 minutes. I talked to the president and interviewed him, and we had a wide-ranging conversation, and he sounded fine to me. He covered a lot of topics. The things that were on his mind were tariffs, primarily. He was worried about the Supreme Court case that's coming up. He talked a lot about foreign affairs. He talked about immigration, and talked about his political opposition. I mean, look.
Apologies, because I realized I didn't have the entire comment there. Let me get the rest of it up here for you. Here we go.
Talked about his political opposition. I mean, look, what I'm worried about are people making irresponsible statements and wish casting about the president's health. I watched a video yesterday of Tim Walz speaking in front of a group saying, well, we thought we were going to wake up to some great news, but it turns out he's still alive. But don't worry, one of these days we'll wake up to that news. Now, that is the governor of Minnesota, the Democratic candidate for vice president, wish casting the death of the president of the United States. I don't care how much you hate your political opponent, wishing death upon them and joking about it means you're a broken-brained SOB, and that's what he is.
Well, and that's pretty much what I said, although I didn't call him an SOB, but he is. But I mean, the left, the hatred on the left, and what gets me about this the most is, well, you know what? I think the president points it out right here when it's brought up to him that whether or not he knew that there were reports out there that he had passed.
But about a big viral social media trend over the weekend. How did you find out over the weekend that you were dead? You see that?
No.
People didn't see you for a couple days. 1.3 million user engagements as of Saturday morning about your demise.
Really? I didn't see that. I have heard, it's sort of crazy, but last week I did numerous news conferences, all successful. They went very well, like this is going very well. And then I didn't do any for 2 days, and they said, there must be something wrong with him. Biden wouldn't do them for months. You wouldn't see him. And nobody ever said there was ever anything wrong with him, and we know he wasn't in the greatest of shape. No, I heard that. I get reports. Now, you knew I did an interview that lasted for about an hour and a half with somebody, and everybody saw that was on one of your competitors. I did numerous shows and also did a number of truths, long truths, I think pretty poignant truths. No, I was very active over the weekend. They also knew I went out to visit some people at the club that I own pretty nearby on the Potomac River. And no, I've been very active actually over the weekend. I didn't hear that one. That's pretty serious stuff.
I'm glad it's
Well, it's fake news. It's just it's so fake. That's why the media has so little credibility. I knew they were saying, like, is he okay? How's he feeling? What's wrong? I said, I just left. And it's also sort of a longer weekend, it's Labor Day weekend. So I would say a lot of people know I was very active this Labor Day. I had heard that, but I didn't hear it to that extent.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here.
So what really gets me about that is, once again, like we said, Donald Trump does major pressers multiple times a week, and he will stand in front of the media for hours at a time and answer questions. Now, you may not like the answers, but he stands in front of the camera and faces the media. He also does hour-long interviews with people. And you can count on, I mean, he's already done more in the first, what are we now? We're in the eighth month of his presidency. He's already done more interviews. He's already done more press conferences than Joe Biden did his entire 4 years, probably tenfold more. He has spent way more time talking to the media, talking to the American people than Joe Biden ever did. And when people raised questions about Joe Biden's health because of it, oh, it was crazy. It was absurd. And here you have on CNN, that was a CNN host asking a talking head. That's what Scott Jennings is, a talking head on CNN. A very serious question. Are you concerned about his health? Why are you concerned about his health? I mean, let's just be, well, he has a bruise on his hand. I'm like, at 70 some odd years old, I think he's 76. I could be wrong, but it's over 70. I'll just say this for me. Over the age of 50, if I wake up in the morning and I don't have some sort of an ache or a bruise, I wonder what's wrong with me. The fact is, as we get older, our bodies, we have more challenges. We do. But there is absolutely no major indication, no significant indication that Donald Trump has anything wrong with him at all. And when I hear people talk about his mental fitness, let me tell you what, like I said, you may not like what Donald Trump says. You may not like how he says it. Lord knows there's a lot of times I don't like what he says or how he says it. But there's nothing wrong with him. I mean, when you consider the fact, first of all the things that he has gotten done in less than a year in his administration, despite the resistance of the Democratic Party, I think you have to take your hats off to him. I think the fact that so far tariffs have, I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I'm still one of those people. I'm still keeping an eye out because I'm still concerned about the effects the tariffs are going to have. I'm not. I believe that it's more the threat of tariffs that have helped him to be successful as opposed to tariffs themselves. That having been said, as they are implemented, I'm concerned about it. I'll be the first to say that I'm concerned about them. But guess what? The economy hasn't collapsed yet. The economy is still going strong. Inflation is still low. I think last report, inflation was like 2.1%. The target is 2%. I mean, by all indications, Donald Trump is doing just fine. Our borders are safe and closed. Every place he has deployed troops, which now is just Washington, D.C., crime is down. I'm sorry, but once again, I'm still trying to wonder. It's like they're grasping at straws. They have nothing legitimate. So they're going to keep grasping at straws. And they see that not even Jeffrey Epstein sticks. And so they're realizing, okay, well, we're going to get away from that one because the Jeffrey Epstein thing isn't sticking because, well, why is it not sticking? Because Democrats had the White House and had control of Congress, and they could have released the files a long time ago, and they chose not to. So that doesn't even give them any real credibility. The thing is and I love the way that Ben Shapiro puts it. It's like Donald Trump is a mud monster, and the more mud you throw at him, all it does is make him stronger. All it does is get the people who support him to support him more because they know all you're doing is mudslinging. They know it. It's kind of obvious. It's kind of obvious that what you're doing. And so they're like, yeah, nobody pays attention to you. And the worst part about it is if they ever did really have something real, if there really ever was something to really seriously be concerned about, nobody will believe them. Nobody except their sycophantic, neo-Marxist, cultural Marxist friends. Nobody will believe them because they've ruined their credibility. You can't be the political party that cried wolf over and over and over again. He's destroying democracy. He's never going to leave office. He's a Nazi. He's Hitler. He's going to lock up. He's going to lock up gay people. He's going to lock up journalists. This is the crap that they're spouting out there. And yet the people who are spouting it, yeah, they're the ones that are actually doing the very things that they are accusing Donald Trump of. But anyway. Speaking, by the way, of shutting down the border, thanks to the significant control that the White House, that Donald Trump, and I will still continue to say that Donald Trump and the White House have wrestled over the southern border, over illegal immigration in the southern border, the United States of America, the U.S., could be looking at for the first time ever, a decline in population. That's right. This being reported by the New York Post. It says here, U.S. could see first population decline ever in 2025 as international migration plummets. The United States could see its population shrink for the first time ever in 2025 as immigration numbers and birth rates have plummeted, according to a report. Net international migration in the U.S. in 2025 could drop as low as negative 525,000 this year, according to an analysis by American Enterprise Institute, with a net 519,000 births reported by the U.S. Census last year. The U.S. possibly could lose 6,000 people, the first population decline in nearly 250 years of American history. AEI predicts that the net immigration into the U.S. will fall from about 2.8 million to between 115,000 and negative 525,000, which even at the lower end is still a 96% fall in international immigration, the Telegraph reported. And here you show how here's a graph here where they show kind of the growth of population. Once again, dating back 1950s, 1950 to 1960, 18% growth, 9.8, 13.2. But then going forward, they're projecting up to 2030 a negative 4.1%, and then they're looking at it going down from there. Now, the thing to understand about this is first and foremost, what is driving these numbers is the fact that we basically have a replacement rate of 1.6 births. Now, to give you an idea, that basically means that for every couple, they're having 1.6 children. Now, nobody's obviously having 1.6 children, but what it means is that on average, some couples are having one kid, some couples are having two, a few more are having two, maybe one more, are having two. But that replacement rate keeps going down. And it's been estimated that societies with a replacement rate below 2.1, meaning two people having two kids, plus a few families having a little bit extra, if you don't have that replacement rate, you're done. Your population is going to decline. So understand that that's where we're at. And by the way, for Western nations, we're not even among the worst. There are some countries that are way, 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 way lower than us, meaning that in most of Western civilization, there's a reason why you're looking at places in Europe are like allowing such wild immigration numbers, why you have people here pushing such wild immigration numbers, because as we have these government-funded socialist systems, right, these programs, they need to be funded by taxpayers, by people working. And if you have fewer people working, that means you have fewer people paying the taxes to take care of the older people, which just goes to show you when people say that Social Security is a Ponzi scheme, they're telling you the truth. That's right. They are telling you the truth. And here's the deal. Now, I know you may believe that Social Security is You put your money in, that money's invested, and that money's put away for you to be able to live on in your retirement. That's not what happens. That's the lie. That money that you put into Social Security now goes to pay people who are on Social Security now. It also goes to fund other programs that politicians take the money to spend. And what's put in there is an IOU. IOU when you retire X amount times the X number for until you die, or until your spouse dies, or until your children die. That's the thing. And so future generations, what you're paying in now is what you're going to get back is not your money. What you're going to get back is what future generations pay in. And if there are fewer people paying in, well, that's how you wind up. That's how you wind up with discussions and conversations about the insolvency of Social Security, because they're not. You're. I'm sorry to say this right now. That's your money going in, but that ain't going to be your money coming out on the back end. I wish I could tell you different, but that's just not the case. All right, moving right along to our next story. Tim Walz. There, you might recall there was a shooting that took place there in Minnesota, and Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, has decided to call a special election, or special session. I'm sorry, so that they can basically ban guns, because as we know, they must do something. That is their thing. This is being reported by the Minnesota Reformer. It says here, Governor Tim Walz on Tuesday said he will call a special session for Minnesota lawmakers to vote on a package of gun control measures, although passage seems unlikely in a closely divided legislature. Walz, after welcoming Deerwood Elementary School students to their first day of school in Eagan, said Minnesota needs to take action following a mass shooting at Annunciation Church in Minneapolis that killed 8-year-old Fletcher Merkel and 10-year-old Harper Moisky, and wounded 21 others last week. Quote, if Minnesota lets this moment slide and we determine that it's okay for little ones to not be safe in a school environment or in a church environment, then shame on us, Walz said. I'm going to call lawmakers back. The governor said he will release a gun control package that this week that will include an assault weapons ban. Walz said he plans to call special session even if he gets zero commitments from Republicans to vote for his gun control measures. Republicans, led by Speaker Lisa DeMuth, said, and who is strongly aligned with gun rights movement, have 67 members in the House, while Democrats have 66 in their ranks, following the June assassination of Democratic former Labor caucus leader Melissa Hortman. So basically, they don't have the votes. So all of this is political posturing, or unless put it this way, unless they feel like they can get Democrats or Republicans, a Republican. I guess in this case they need a Republican to turn coat and vote with them, and I just don't see that happening. But that doesn't keep them. It doesn't keep liberals or gun grabbers like Tim Walz from dancing over the bodies of victims. You notice there's absolutely no conversation at all about, just about the fact that Minnesota has some of the strictest gun laws already in the entire country, and yet and still this happened right there in Minnesota. They have background checks. It still happened. They have red flag laws. It still happens. I actually was surprised to hear that they don't already have a ban on centerfire, semi-automatic centerfire rifles. But I'm willing to bet that, but you know what? We have those here in California, yet we still have shootings like this that take place here in California. The reality is that they will not pass laws that will do anything. They're like, well, we need to focus on the intent, and the intent is to save lives. Well, you're not saving any lives. Look at the reality of it. And if Mr. Walz, if you had done what you were supposed to do, if you had done what you were asked to do, to allow private non-public schools to have the same level of protection as public schools, like was requested from you, which you refused to do, then maybe something like this could have been prevented. Maybe armed security could have actually dealt with this guy before he had an opportunity to kill these children and wound these other folks. But see, you don't want to look at what you didn't do. You don't want to look at the opportunity in the moment that you let pass by. You don't want to own your stuff. Because what you would have done would have actually been something that would have directly addressed this. But you don't care about the truth. I know you don't care about the truth. You know you don't care about the truth. And you just don't want your voters to know that you don't care about the truth. All right, this last story, I have to admit, I picked it last second because I had another story that I was going to talk about that I thought was very, very sensational and proved a point, but then found out it was satire, and I'm not interested in promoting fake news. And I get it. It was funny. It was supposed to be humorous. I don't think that satire, I don't know, put this, I don't think that parodies that are not funny are really satire. I think it's fake. I do consider those to be fake news. And it was put out by a legitimate news source too. That's what really bad. But I will say this, they did label it as satire. They did label it as parody, albeit at the very end. But anyway, I'll just leave that alone. But this is still an interesting story nonetheless, because it does still, once again, point to a very, very important story that not many people are talking about, and that is the war that China has on America when it comes to drugs. Feds intercept 1,300 barrels of meth precursor chemicals shipped from China to Mexico. Federal officials made a high seas interception of hundreds of thousands of pounds of two different precursor chemicals that are used to make methamphetamine, a shipment as they say, came from China and was destined for Sinaloa cartel in Mexico. Jeannie Pirro, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, announced that officials called the largest ever bust of precursor chemicals being shipped to a foreign terrorist organization during a news conference in Pasadena, Texas on Wednesday. Quote, tons of chemicals that are used to create synthetic drugs like methamphetamine and fentanyl are shipped from China to Mexico in China's undeclared war against America, Pirro said. Pirro said that 1,300 barrels containing 363 pounds of benzyl alcohol and 334,000 pounds of methylformide was seized from two different vessels on the high seas. Both chemicals, Pirro said, are precursor chemicals that could have been used to produce 420,000 pounds of methamphetamine. And keep in mind, this is also at the same time when they basically blew up a ship, shot a missile at a ship, a boat coming out of Venezuela that was working to bring drugs into the United States. Folks, we have a drug epidemic, and I'm just going to say this twofold. Number one, yes, we need to deal with the supply, with the people who are shipping this stuff in here, with their goal of destroying America. And that's really why, whether it's fentanyl or it's methamphetamine, a lot of the precursors for a lot of the synthetic drugs are coming from China. China produces them, and they, in many cases, produce those precursors at a loss. They don't produce the drugs there, but they produce the precursors, and they ship them to places where they're then manufactured, in this case, Mexico. In some places, they're saying Canada, and then it's being then turned into the drug and then shipped into the United States. That needs to be stopped. Now, that having been said, we also have to address the issue of demand, because let's be real. If there were no demand, there would be no supply. So, and I don't know how you do that. I don't know how we address the issue of going after and trying to reduce people, the incidence of people who are utilizing drugs. I don't know exactly what that looks like. I know that, and I know some people are like, well, you shouldn't criminalize drug use. No, you should. And the reason why I'm saying that you should is this. is because the best way to get people into rehab, I mean, obviously you want them to want rehab, right? That's the first thing. And sometimes the carrot of, hey, we're going to offer you some rehab so that you can get your life together and you can start making good decisions. But sometimes you need the stick. For some people, if you don't have the stick that says, look, if you don't go to rehab, you go to jail for drug possession, then you get no way, there's no way you get them to actually go to rehab. For some people, I hate to say it, they got to be forced. And I'm not saying that I don't know that the success rate is necessarily great, but I know that you have a greater likelihood of getting off drugs, even if forced to go to rehab, than you do if not going to rehab at all. So I'm all for the enforcement of drug laws. That I'm sorry, I know some of y'all libertarian folks out there are like, let them do it, but no, because sometimes you need to help people get into a position where they can make sound decisions. In this particular case, when it comes to drugs, I know, y'all. Some of y'all out there, my libertarian friends are like, no, we don't want that. Well, I just think right now we're in a situation where we're throwing good money after bad with all of these programs to help people who are quote unquote homeless when they're really drug addicts. I hate to say this, many of them. I'm not going to say most, because I know that studies that I've seen say an overwhelming majority, but are people. Now, I don't know if they were homeless and then got a substance abuse problem, or if they were homeless and then got a substance abuse problem, or if they had a substance abuse problem that resulted in them being homeless. I don't know. But I know that when someone is not of sound mind, when they're dealing with either mental health issues or they're dealing with drug addiction, they can't make sound decisions when they're not in their right mind. And forcing someone to get in their right mind, whether it's making somebody who's supposed to be on meds get on their meds, or taking someone who's misusing drugs and getting them and helping to remove the addictive factor of those drugs, so that they can be in a position to make a sound decision. I'm all for that. Anyway. All right, folks, so that now brings us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster today. This first one here, I kind of like this one. This is a great way to deal with and talk about how we're going to address the issue of homelessness.
People ask my opinion on illegal immigrants. The problem is the criminals. We need to round them all up like a bunch of stray dogs and kick their asses out of our government.
Okay, it was more about immigration. I apologize, but I found it funny to be funny nonetheless. Yeah, we need to get the criminals. What were y'all thinking? Y'all were thinking criminal illegal aliens, right? Yep, that's exactly what you were thinking. That's what I was thinking when he first started with the jokes. But if you've ever seen him before, he is hilarious. He is very good at taking you down one path and then just taking a sharp left when you are not even ready or prepared for it. Once again, he is, quite funny, quite funny. Here's another one where they're talking about, people just kind of making up their minds about where people are at on certain issues. And I thought this Texas representative did an excellent job of defending her position.
Is it your intention to run trans people out of the state of Texas? No? Just out of the bathroom?
Yeah, we just want them. We just want them out of the girls' bathroom. Good. I don't see anything wrong with that. Do you? Nope. Of course you do not. Now, obviously, since Trump has been resurrected from the dead, there are obviously those who are likening him to, he is saving our nation. There's another savior that others have likened him to, and so now there are reports coming out of our good friends over at the Babylon Bee, fake news that you can trust. It says here, Donald Trump invites doubting Democrats to touch the hole in his ear. I know. Sounds kind of sacrilegious, but it's not. It's just funny. Okay, are we okay with that? Are we okay with him being funny? Okay, how about this one then? Also from the Babylon Bee, fake news you can trust. Stubborn Trump refuses to admit he's dead. Yeah, I think if he were dead, he probably wouldn't admit it. He'd probably still be at the press conference talking about, I'm alive, I'm telling you. No, seriously, I am alive. No, you don't think he would? Okay. All right, folks. Well, that brings us to the end of our program. But before we go, we're going to give one more quick shout out to our sponsors. We got Hitman Industries rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you to purchase at hitmanindustries.net. We've got the California Republican Assembly. You can check them out at cragop.org. They are the conscience of the Republican Party. And then finally, you've got the best in concealed carry tactical holsters available on the market at hogholsters.com. That's HAWGholsters.com, helping Americans wear guns. And then you've got the place where you can find all things tactical except the gun, uscombatgear.com. All right, folks, that's going to be it for today. We thank you for tuning in. We thank you for liking and sharing the program and encouraging your friends to do the same. We will be back tomorrow on Throw to Punch Thursday. Till then, y'all have fun. Stay safe. We will see you mañana.